Okay, guys, so I finished WALTRAUD by Tammy Borden, and I want to discuss it with you. So I'm not going to give you any spoilers because you guys know I don't do that to you, but I am going to give you one tiny little bit of information towards the end of my review that happens later in the book, so just be aware of that. This is the true telling of Tammy, the author's mother, WALTRAUD, growing up in Nazi Germany. It starts off in her life as a very young child, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the dictatorship of Schmittler, because I don't know if I can say that on here, takes over. It is very quick, it is very abrupt, and it is overwhelming. As a child, I can't imagine having to grow up like that, where you're just this carefree child having fun with your brother and your baby sister and your family, and all of the sudden, your rights are just gone. You have to go to school and do things and support things at school that should never have to happen to a child at school. You are there to learn, and these children were not there to learn anymore. They were there to support the dictatorship of who was taking over their country. I can't imagine that. Her father ends up being forced into the military and having to fight for the fatherhood country. It is very clear that her family did not support these beliefs, but there was no choice. There was no other option other than, and that was not going to happen. So she struggled greatly with knowing what her father was having to support, and knowing that she had the possibility of something happening to him, and they were extremely close. It was a lot for her to handle. At 14 years old, she ends up having to go away and is treated so poorly by this family that she has to live with and work for. At 14 years old, I can't imagine that. There are times where she found a little bit of happiness in her life, but she chose to give it up to help support her family. And the bravery and the courage of this girl growing up into adulthood is something of a life that no one should have to live. Now, my mother's entire side of my family is Jewish. So it would have been very easy when this author approached me to read her book for me to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to support you. However, I, as an adult, understand that none of us choose the life that we are pushed into. None of us. I also understand that there are two sides to every single coin. I also understand that just because you live in a certain place and you have a certain leader does not mean that you support them. It means that sometimes you don't have a choice. All you can do is be brave and stand up for what you believe in secret, because otherwise there might be severe consequences for you. WALTRAUD did that. She made it very clear in her life that she did not stand up for what was being forced in her country. And even though it was behind closed doors and in secret because she didn't want the consequences that could come, that is still brave. Because she never allowed the dictatorship of her country to take away her beliefs and change who she was as a person. That is being brave, and that is courage. And it was amazing to see that all the way up into the bitter end, she kept strong to what she truly believed. Now, the part in this story that I wanted to share that may be a spoiler is she ends up getting married towards the end of the story, and her mother does not go to her wedding. She also doesn't allow her brother and sister to go to her wedding. And it is very sad. Something that I have never shared on this app is my mother did not go to my wedding. She refused, and it was 100% because she did not like who I was marrying. Now, that being said, the person that I ended up marrying, he is the bio of my 2 older sons and the 3rd son that I lost. We were not married very long. It was not a good relationship. It was very toxic. We met when we were teenagers, and we ended up getting married in our 21, I think we were, and the marriage only lasted about a year, but it was toxic. But my mom did not go to my wedding, and that is something that just isn't allowed to be discussed in our family, because in my family, you push things under the rug and they just go away, right? Which isn't healthy, but that's how my family is. So I connected on her on that level. And it's painful, because in my eyes, I don't care who my child is, I would be at that wedding, because that wedding is about supporting your child. It's not about who they're marrying. But Tammy, I cannot thank you enough for sharing this beautiful story with me. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I want you to know this is a beautiful story. And your mother, I am certain, is so very proud of you for the tribute and honor that you have shown to her life. And I thank you immensely. This is a book that should get out there, because as I've said, we cannot be so close-minded to life and the world that we see things in black and white. We can't do that. We need to understand the other side of the coin, and we need to hear about it. And only then can you make your judgment. Your mother was a beautiful human being, and she was strong, and she was brave. And I thank her for being that and holding tight to her beliefs. So thank you again, Tammy, for sharing this wonderful story with me. You guys, if you are not already, please follow Tammy. Please read this book. It is very important. And until next time, you guys, keep smiling.